question today on Classics History on the Grill had to do with the SI-64. Should it be scrapped? Is it a case or it is an austerity measure that is necessary for Zimbabwe to develop its economy as well as its manufacturing industry, as well as encourage that is buying of local products. Today we were joined by Mr. Defo Mutashi, who is the president of the Confederation Zimbabwe Retailers Association, who was with us in the studio. Therefore, I'll start with you and come to you and say, maybe in a nutshell, from the discussion that we had from the listeners, their contributions as well. Do you feel that SI-64 is something that we should keep, or is something that we should temporarily get rid of?
I think it is a necessary pay. We should keep it, but we need to be very flexible as far as ensuring that the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Enterprise Development is spot on as far as bringing in managed imports to fill in gaps that may have been left by selected manufacturers who would have failed to supply. Because the current situation of empty shelves is not a good sight. Price instability, it is also something that is not a good thing in the economy. Remember, prices have been going up, but quite steadily. And the separation of the FCA Nostro and FCA RTGS, in my view, actually exacerbated the situation by creating a lot of unnecessary panic and on the part of the consumers who went on a buying spree, hoarding commodities and emptying shelves because they were not so sure about what was coming. But I think we need a robust industrial policy as well as a trade policy, especially as the country is certainly going to be part of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We need also to think, to plan with that in mind.
We also had Mr. Alois Buruza from Buy Zimbabwe, and you have always been in support of the SI-64, looking also at the formulation of the local content policy, which also falls under this instrument. Your take, are you still in agreement of this SI-64, or have you changed sides? Do you have second thoughts about it? And also moving forward, when it comes to the issue of taxes, the issue of investors, and obviously the consumer, who will probably have to bear the brunt of some of these price hikes and the distortions and everything that's prevailing in the market. Your take?
Thank you very much, Mo. And I fully agree with you. I think at the end of it all, this should come down to the consumer. The consumer really has got to be protected in terms of pricing, in terms of availability of products, in terms of job creation. And therefore, we believe that SI-64, we are not having any second thoughts on SI-64. We still remain steadfast to say SI-64 was or is still a very good policy that should remain in place because we need to protect our local industry. But then again, having said that, we need to ensure that as a government, through the Reserve Bank, we need, and other arms of government, we need to support the local manufacturers in terms of foreign currency availability to enable them to be able to procure their raw materials so that we do not have the current situation where we are having empty shelves in the shops. Because now we will then end up by making some mistakes by then saying, no, let's allow the imported product to come in because the local manufacturers have failed. We cannot say the local manufacturers have failed at this particular moment simply because they do not have the foreign currency for them to be able to bring in the raw materials. But I think at this stage, it is very important that we as a nation, we come up with sort of like a council of economic advisors, like what they do in other countries like the United States and so forth. Because certainly we need, because one of the things that is coming up is that the Minister of Finance, even the RB's head, they're not consulting enough. We actually need to come up with a council of economic advisors that sits and comes up and advises the Minister of Finance and the President himself, so that at least we come up with policies that are sustainable and that will turn around the economic fortunes of this nation.
And of course, those are some of the issues that we did tackle today. Yes, they were raised the issues about what we need to do, but I'm sure on Friday, as we continue with this subject matter, because it remained unsolved. We want to come up with solutions as well as to respond to some of your contributions. If you have your questions, just post them on that post right here on Classic 263, and we'll forward them to our guests, and we hope that you'll be part of it more. It was an interesting one. We still have unfinished business with these two gentlemen, and it was quite a what and interesting grill that we had this morning on Classic 263.
We certainly did. So the question still remains, SI64, should it remain in place or should it be scraped off? Obviously, we want to hear your take to this and the solutions that you probably want to prefer to it. After all, you are the consumer who will have to bear the brunt if anything falls away. This is Classic 263. Join us this Friday, 7:15 on the grill as we continue